a martini, shaken not stirred.
I don't know how to put this, but I'm kind of a big deal.
Houston, we have a problem.
Do or do not. There is no try.
Nobody puts baby in a corner.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Keep your friends close, but your enemies close.
I'm your #1 fan.
And here we go.
That's what I am, Jim.
You can hate me now,
QB,
but I won't stop now.
real niggas,
Cause I can't stop now.
brave heart.
You can hate me now,
Come on.
but I won't stop now. Cause I can't stop now. You can hate me now.
Happy Monday, moviegoers. Welcome to another episode, 3 years in the making. Welcome to the Cine-Men Movie Podcast. I'm your host, Juan, and I am joined by the cast. Ed.
Hey, what's up, folks?
Craig.
Yo.
And Zach.
What's going on, guys?
We are here, and it's finally time, 3 years later, to talk about Creed 2. It was such a fun episode to talk about, literally the first, 15 episodes. We talked about the first Creed. Now we're talking all about Creed 2. So how's everybody going? How's everybody doing?
Going all right. Just chilled this week. Watch some movies and ready to talk about it today.
Zach, how about you? Long week?
It was a very long week, yeah.
Just another manic Monday?
Always.
Ed, what about you? How you been feeling? Good?
So far so good.
We're
Just,
gravy. Good.
like young gravy.
Like sausage gravy.
Just smooth like young gravy.
But yeah, I want to thank everybody who's joining us for this episode and everybody who joined us for last week's episode. We had a good time talking about Fruitvale Station, a look back, a lot of good emails talking about that movie. A lot of people didn't even know about that movie. But it's available to stream now on Netflix. So does anybody have any final thoughts about Fruitvale Station before we jump into Creed 2?
No, I just thought it was a good film. So go check out the episode if you haven't.
Such a live audience here today. We'll get ready to talk about some WandaVision, guys. WandaVision ended this past Friday, and a lot of people, there's some disappointments, but there's also some praises. I guess it didn't end the way people wanted it to, or it didn't end leading it into maybe some speculation, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I can see why people would be upset. I mean, at the same time, you can't fault Marvel because they set off to tell a story between Wanda and Vision, and that's exactly what they did. And a lot of people were wanting them to introduce more concepts of the X-Men or Fantastic Four, and that's not really what this TV show was about. It was just to kind of expand on Wanda and Vision and sort of breathe life into what those characters will become moving forward.
What about you, Zach? Did you enjoy the series overall without us giving too many spoilers away, just in case there's people out there?
Yeah, I mean, I thought overall it was a good little series that they were able to come up with. I enjoyed. I know a lot of people didn't like the television history trope, but I thought it was just kind of cool throwing them back to old time television. The series finale I thought was very it was very emotionally driven, but it also set up some things that I'm sure we're going to see in future installments, especially movie wise.
Yeah. And then, like you said, Craig, are they up in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier date, or is it still set for the 19th?
I had read that they're going to move it up a week to try and keep as much momentum going as possible with some of this stuff, but at the same time, they also had it set out to where there was 52 days of constant stuff on Disney Plus, with it being 9 episodes of WandaVision and then a filler episode of something, and then 9 episodes of
now you almost have to look at this as competition. You got Netflix popping out a movie every week. Mm-hmm. You have HBO Max adding stuff every week, and then they have their brand new movies coming out. Hulu's kind of been on a roll. So do you guys think that they would probably try to do that just to keep the momentum up with everybody else? Or, because Paramount Plus dropped this week, and you get the first month for them for free.
Yep.
So giving away something 30 days for free is pretty big deal.
Well, my thing is like, if you are right about that, Craig, about Falcon and Winter Soldier moving up a week, there's still going to be just a little bit of lag because I don't think Loki comes out till like June, early
Yeah.
July or something. So,
But between then and there, you have Black Widow
Yeah,
and
that's true.
some other stuff. So you may not get a full,
you won't get like
a
back to
full
back to back, but
series,
still,
but there's still going to be plenty of content to talk about and to think about between then and there.
yeah. Speaking of Paramount Plus, I guess because theaters are opening up in New York at 25% capacity, everything's slowly trying to get back to normal. Paramount raised the release date for Quiet Place Part 2 for Memorial Day weekend.
Nice.
So
Memorial Day weekend. So are they going to do what HBO Max did and put that on Paramount Plus plus theaters?
Yeah, it's still going to be in the theater, and you can stream it for 45 days on Paramount Plus.
And you don't have to pay anything extra like Disney Plus is doing with Rey and the Last Dragon?
No.
Which recently just came out this past weekend, guys. I heard it
was
nothing
really
but good
good.
thing about it.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's going to be good, but
I just don't
I'm
want
not
to pay
paying
$30.
Yeah. I'd rather pay $30 at a theater and get popcorn and drinks.
Right.
And they already said, I think it's like June 1st when all Disney Plus subscribers can watch it for free. So,
Which means June. Yeah, that'll be the Blu-ray release too, probably.
Yeah.
So, it should be
Speaking
pretty fun.
of things going to certain capacities, over the last few days, Joe Castiglione, the OU athletic director, said that they plan on having full capacity at all the football games this year.
I saw that. I saw Big 12 commissioner said that too. That all the Big 12 games are going to have 100% full capacity.
So I mean, that's still 180 days between now and the first game for some of the Big 12 teams. So there's some time between here and there to see where things are. But
I think it's time. Take the how do they call just take the strap off and let's just get back to normal. Especially with Johnson & Johnson releasing their vaccine.
3 vaccines now.
Yeah. That's how I feel about it. Zach, what about you?
I'm glad we do got 3 vaccines for sure, like where the public can get. But I mean, I think they said by May. I think there should be a vaccine for almost everybody
by May.
Yeah, but I mean, I truly want to come on here and say that by May or summertime this will all be over. But you still got people that doesn't want to follow the rules. So
yeah, it'll still linger.
I was in Vintage Stock this past week. Shout out to Vintage Stock. I found everything I needed to in one place.
What?
Yeah, like 18 movies. But anyway, I was in there, doing my little shopping, digging through some stuff, feeling pretty good about myself. And then this guy walked in, right? And he walked in and, they told him, hey, if you don't have a mask, we have a mask. And he was like, oh, I have a condition. I can't wear a mask. And, so it got into like a little, not too heated of an argument, but it still got into something. And they were like, well, you can't walk past this line. If you need anything, we'll go get it for you if you can't have a mask on. And he just dug into his Bill of Rights or whatever. He dug into the books, and he was just like making their day harder. They're just following the rules, And the thing I hate about this is Texas, when that mask mandate gets lifted, businesses still have the right to say no shoes, no shirt, no mask, no business. Do you guys think that this is going to lead into more trouble down the line when the mask mandate does get lifted?
Well, stores need to explain to their employees. So the companies may know rules and everything like that, but they need to pass it down to the employees like, hey, it's being lifted, but we're still going to say mask. Obviously, people are going to be upset about it, and they're going to come in and be like, well, the mask mandate's lifted.
This guy got so stern and so loud that I thought he was going to, like, go out to his car and then come in and, like, Lone Survivor us or something. Because, like, I thought he was just going to go, you know what, fuck it. I thought he was going to Columbine. But it didn't happen that way. But he was just, like, so frustrated, and I thought it was going to get bigger than what it did.
I had a similar condition with at Best Buy in Norman. We were looking for a computer, and a guy walked in and with his family and said, like, oh, I have asthma, I can't breathe, and, I can't wear the mask, it makes me anxious. I was like, what are you doing outside if you have asthma and you can't even breathe? Why are you...
Don't get me wrong, I have asthma, yet I wear my mask. I've worn my mask for, an 18-hour shift before, so I'm sorry, but that's I get it. It does suck, and it's not the funnest thing, but that's not that good of an excuse.
Well,
I'm
and
sorry.
And you always got to pull out the, are you going to pay for my medical bills if I have an attack or everything? It's like, just stop.
Well, I mean, they're wrong. If you're that fearful of your life and your lungs, stay the fuck home.
You can shop online, and Best Buy will bring it out to you.
Too easy.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, I have asthma.
It's not
I've
like
had
it's
it for almost 27 years.
It's not like it's 1942 and you have to go into a store to buy stuff. Amazon will drop fucking groceries off to your front door. No excuses. No pain. They must break us. But no, let's get ready to... Speaking of rodeo cinema and movie theaters, we are going to dig into some rodeo cinema. Alright guys, don't forget that this episode is sponsored by Rodeo Cinema, located at 2221 Exchange Avenue, right here in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. You can reach them at 405-815-3275 or just visit them at rodeocinema.org. They're playing some good movies this month, like movies like Nomadland, Minari, Stray, and they're also doing their throwbacks to old school movies like Cool Hand Luke, and they still have their silent films playing on Saturdays. So these are some movies that are up for some pretty good awards. So Minari is playing this week. Stray, and then Nomadland is not only on Hulu, but you can check it out in theaters as well. So check them out. Rodeo Cinema opens 30 minutes prior to the first film showing of the day. So check them out. The official movie theater of the Cine-Men Movie Podcast. Alright guys, don't forget, follow us on the Facebook page at facebook.com/moviereels405. Or you can just Facebook search the Cine-Men Movie Podcast and we'll pop right up. You can also find us on the Twitter at Cine-Men405. And then you can check out all of my recent watches on the Instagram page, one word, Cine-Men Movie Podcast. We're doing giveaways, so you guys right now can win a free copy of Monster Hunter on the digital, a free digital copy on the Facebook page. Just check it out. So,
is it any good?
I haven't seen it yet. I heard some shitty things about it, but I like Mila Djokovic and I like Thomas Anderson.
Paul Giamatti?
No.
Paul Giamatti, yeah.
Classic.
So check it out, and we'll get into some recent watches this week and next week, like always. So we'll start with you, Zach. Do you have any fun recent watches you want to talk about or recommend anything to anybody?
WandaVision was probably the big thing. I finished my Pixar retrospective that we're going to be talking about here in a couple weeks. And probably the other main thing I watched was Coming to America, the original. I haven't got a chance to see the new Amazon Prime movie yet, but the original, it was funny. I liked it. It's classic Eddie, so you can't really say anything bad about it. I think it's hysterical. It's pretty much the original Wakanda.
Yeah.
Before Wakanda, so
I think it'll be fun. I'm excited to watch it next week. I'll probably talk about it on next week's episode, but yeah, I know for sure I'll check it out this week. So you would just recommend more episodes of WandaVision?
Yeah, check out WandaVision. Just check out really Pixar's entire catalog of films. I think they really don't have any bad movie per se, and it's just kind of enjoyable to see those films as an adult. So
they're all on Disney Plus.
Yes.
Craig, what about you? You check anything fun out this week?
Yeah. So I started Tom and Jerry just to kind of see.
How far did you get?
About 15 minutes. Damn. If that tells you anything.
But you did like the rapping pigeon, didn't you?
Oh, I love the rapping pigeon. If they would have had that all the way through, it would have been all right. No, it's just the
what did it for you? Was it just like the whole concept, or just the animation, or what?
The animation, the interaction between the real life people and the animation.
Yeah.
Did it for me. It's like it was too dramatic. It was unbelievable. Like when they hit Chloe Grace Moritz off the bike, I was just like, that's so bad.
You know, you should just fell over.
Yeah. So I was just like, I'm kind of done there. Watched 28 Weeks Later, Imogen Poots, Rose Byrne.
Isn't Jeremy Renner?
Jeremy Renner. Yeah, quite a few people in that. Forgot how many people were in that. Then after that, it kind of just rolled right into Predators for me.
Predators, the third one where they're like in the jungle.
Yeah, the newest one. Yeah. Is alright.
Oh, there's a fourth one.
Are you talking about the new one with
like the 8
the
foot tall?
dude with the dude from King Kong, that you guys talked about?
Adrian Brody?
Yes.
so Predators.
Yeah, he's right. The third one.
And then I checked out Scott Pilgrim versus the World for the first time.
Let's talk about that.
Okay.
Why did it take you so long to watch it?
Because I had seen it, and the animation was just kind of like, it seems like something I would check out, but I just never did.
And then I'm surprised with Chris Evans being in it. After he blew up with Marvel, you're like, oh, now I really got to check it out.
Yeah, he's like, whenever I saw it, it was always
bad timing.
No,
I will say, like,
who's the main guy?
Michael Cera.
Michael Cera. That's who I saw in it. I completely forgot that Chris Evans was even in it, or some of the other people. So Mallory was just, we were looking for a film, and I was like, oh, we can do this, and she was like, oh, I've seen it so many times, and I was like, okay, we can fall back to it, and we ended up falling back to it, and I really enjoyed it. For a movie that felt sort of cheesy at times, the animation was amazing for the film.
It's one of those movies that like completely bombed when it first came out, but it developed like such a cult following afterwards. Last year was its 10th anniversary. I wanted to talk about it, but we never got to it. So.
Honestly, at first I really didn't like that movie. When I first seen it, I thought it was complete shit. I was just like, that's just.
I think if you're going in for so this is one of those films where going into it, you're like, what are they trying to accomplish? What are they trying to do with this animation style? Blah, blah, blah. But then you come back 10 years later and you look at the cast and it's just pure nostalgia at this point.
The people that really liked it at first are the ones who, you get used to the graphic novels or the comics or something like that, seeing what things like that are based off. I never read any of the books. I don't know how to read. But I did enjoy, I always enjoyed that movie. And yeah, I think Scott Pilgrim,
the rewatchability is going to be high for me.
Scott Pilgrim versus the World is going to be, since it's so unorthodox, fuck the 10-year anniversary. We can do an 11-year anniversary. So I think we might talk about it in August during its original theatrical release.
Okay. But yeah, that was and then WandaVision, of course. But that's my recent watches.
And then if you want to recommend Scott Pilgrim versus the World, it's currently on Netflix.
Yeah, Netflix.
I was so disappointed in myself with 5 recent watches last week that I just had to turn it up, and I had to just do 4 hours of sleep a day. Craig, you got me hyped up so much on those sports movies last week that I started my week off with Moneyball.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And Jesus Christ, that was a fucking good movie. Yeah. I haven't seen it since I bought the Blu-ray, then since I saw it in theaters. I'm just like, I want to rewatch it. And then Jonah Hill and the way they just describe sports, and then, man, it's just a fucking beautiful movie.
The whole tactic behind the actual concept of what they're, telling about the 2003 Oakland A's was.
And I'm not a big baseball fan like in real life, but so far all these baseball movies I've been watching, they're hitting them on spot.
What, Angels in the Outfield?
I still can't find the fucking movie. The Heat. Checked out The Heat with Melissa McCartney. Sandra Bullock. It's funny movie. Rewatched Parasite.
Mm-hmm. Did you watch the Criterion version?
I did, and it was it looks a little bit smoother than the Blu-ray copy. I want to watch the black and white version now.
Mm-hmm.
So no matter how many times I watch that movie, it's just still so good.
Yeah.
And then I just completely
went on a binge.
Went on a Rocky binge. I watched 1 through 6, and then the 2 Creed films. And then caught up with WandaVision. So I would highly recommend. Zach, you said all these Rocky movies are on HBO Max. If anybody out there is, if we're opening up the eyes to some boxing or some sports movies over the last few weeks, even though they're not based off of real boxers, I highly recommend, if you're a boxing fan and you've never checked out Rocky, check out all these movies. Even if you're not a boxing fan, the story and just, that's what I love about the Rocky movies. We'll get into it a little bit later. But I love that they're more surrounded and they're more about the story and the people living in these everyday lives than the actual boxing. So yeah, those are what I completely binged on this week. Ed, what about you? Did you watch anything fun, or did you just check out Creed 2?
Creed 2, as well as I've not fully caught up, but I've got up to episodes. Well, I'm about to start episode 6 of WandaVision, so caught up a bit on that. Yeah, basically, I've kind of been pulling a lot of sleeping hours after work, so getting used to that overnight schedule.
Oh, you didn't know?
All right, Zach, so let us know some things that we probably didn't know about Creed 2. Or Creed, whichever one you want to do.
Well, I can do a whole thing on Creed, so...
The band?
No.
Can you make me higher?
You probably should open the episode with that, actually.
Yeah.
As with Rocky Balboa and the first Creed, Creed 2 does not open up with the recap of the previous film's fight sequence. Ryan Coogler did envision doing an entire Creed trilogy. However, doing Black Panther and the huge success with that, it's really unknown what the status is of going forward with that. I think we've talked about on the show. I think Michael B. Jordan's going to be doing his directorial debut with Creed 3, if that's still happening. Stallone was actually going to direct the film, but he backed out at the last second. And then the fifth film in the This is the fifth film in the franchise to feature Rocky's turtles, Cuff and Link, having previously appearing in Rocky, Rocky 2, Rocky Balboa, and Creed. They are actually Stallone's real-life pets that he's had for nearly 50 years.
Yeah.
So.
Nice. Pretty fun. But now, guys, speaking of Rocky and speaking of some fight scenes, we are going to talk our ultimate top 5 favorite movie fight scenes. All right, guys, we are talking our top 5 movie fight scenes. It can come from any movie. As long as it was a fun fight scene for you, we can talk about it. Does anybody have any honorable mentions?
C.
Yes.
Oh, damn. First time in fucking forever everybody has honorable mentions. I'm going to run through mine right quick. I won't spend too much time, but I'm going to say Arnold versus the Predator. Finally seeing Batman versus Superman on the big screen was one for me. The gladiator fight scene between Maximus and Tigris. And then my official honorable mention is the Anchorman fight scene where all the different news broadcasts come in and have the alley fight scene. Who else wants to go? Anybody else? Zach, go ahead and start with your honorable mentions.
I just got 2. The T-Rex versus Indominus Rex in Jurassic World. And then my official honorable mention, Obi-Wan versus Anakin in Revenge of the Sith.
Okay. Ed, what about you?
I'm going to go ahead and throw out the probably Bruce Lee versus Han final fight. That one, honestly...
What movie?
Holy shit. I'm not...
All right.
So, Bruce Lee versus Han in Enter the Dragon. No interruptions. That fight was serious. He had all kinds of fucking weapons going after Bruce Lee. Tried mirror tricks and shit like that to fuck with Bruce Lee's mind. Bruce Lee said, yeah, fuck that, I'm Bruce Lee. I'm just gonna whoop your ass. So, it's fucking awesome.
So just the Bruce Lee movies, your honorable mention?
Yeah.
Craig, what about you? You have any honorable mentions?
I got a big old list.
Holy shit.
Thor versus Hulk in Thor Ragnarok. It's a good one. The infight of Endgame's kind of like a all-out war, so I'm not gonna really. That's like iffy. And then Woody versus Buzz in Toy Story when they fall out of the van and they're at the gas station. That was a good one.
Yeah, it was pretty nice.
That's my honorable mentions.
5. All right, Zach, we'll let you start off with number 5. What's your number 5 favorite fight scene?
Number 5 is going to be one of your honorable mentions. It's going to be Batman vs. Superman and BVS Dawn of Justice. I think the most surprising thing about this fight is that, you would think, just based on the title, you think that's going to be basically 2.5 hours of pure, just unadult rated fighting between the two. But it's just 2 minutes. It's literally like about 2 or 3 minutes of the entire film.
But you got to look. I mean, I'm glad you did. I had it in my honorable mention. I wasn't gonna let it pass, and I'm glad you had it number 5 because growing up as these fans of these superheroes, you've never seen a live action fight between the two.
Mm-hmm.
So even if it was 90 seconds or if it was the whole film, it's just fun to see that on the big screen.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, 2-3 minutes, that's all you need.
Yeah. But I think that's what people were expecting going into the movie.
Yeah.
So
it would have been nice to have a little bit lengthier of a fight scene. But that's your number 5?
Yep.
My number 5 is going to be another Batman scene. It's going to be Bane versus Batman from The Dark Knight Rises. You hear every punch and you hear every fucking fight sequence in that short 4 or 5 minute scene. Literally, for me, it starts when Catwoman closes the gate and then Bane walks out, and it's just ending it with the break in the back, and then he punches the mask off his face. That's
brutal.
That's a heart pounding fight scene for me. No matter how many times I rewatch it, I always get that feeling of like I feel like I'm watching something that I shouldn't be watching. Like I feel like somebody's about to die. But that's just me. Craig, what do you have at number 5?
Number 5 for me is going to be also one of your honorable mentions. It is the Anchorman newscaster back alley bro. That it's just it's not a typical fight, but all the news anchors of the local news stations in San Diego getting together for a old back alley brawl to find out who's the real number 1.
I'm surprised nobody had the twisted T-can in that fight, man. All the weapons they brought.
Brick killed a guy.
I mean, hey, fuck it, right?
But no, it was just the way Vince Vaughn kind of comes out, and Ben Stiller's there, and it's just all Ben Stiller was there, wasn't he?
Yeah.
But
he was the Spanish news team, bitches.
It was just comical to see all of it happen and see them all go into all-out war just to find out who the top newscast is.
That's a funny scene. Ed, what do you got at number 5?
Number 5, I'm gonna go ahead and place another person, but the Batman versus Bane first fight. I gotta agree, like that fight just seemed like, okay, like did they tell Tom Hardy that they're not actually fighting? Like the fuck, it seemed like Tom Hardy was trying to really actually fucking go. I mean, I've watched UFC fights and felt more comfortable than that easily. So, yeah, I've got to agree. It did feel like you're not supposed to be watching it truthfully. So, yeah.
Zachary, what do you have at number 4, sir?
Number 3 is one that I really... Number 4, yeah.
I don't know how to count today either.
Number 4 is really just one I just thought of while making the list, actually, today. Number 4 is going to be from The Accountant, the Ben Affleck movie, where he's fighting the assassins. They've basically been not trained, but given the mission to go and kill him and Anna Kendrick. When he's on the farmhouse, and he basically takes the guy out with the bells, and then he has to proceed to go and rescue Anna Kendrick in the apartments. That's actually really well choreographed action. So
The Accountant is a very not talked about film, but it's very good.
Yeah.
So
a lot of stuff Ben's been doing has been pretty good lately. My number 4 is going to be the Rocky and Creed fight. Honestly, since we're sitting here talking about Creed from the first Rocky in '76, I think a lot of sports movies or some stuff where it has boxing or fighting involved with it, it's not story invested. And the story between those two, where it just randomly just happens and it gets put into perspective, and Creed wants to give the underdog a shot, and it just doesn't. So you can smell something is starting to be fishy around here. So, and I got to say that the choreographed is just really, really well. And then the story, you want the underdog to win, you want him to win the world title, but he just gets so close, and then he doesn't. Me personally, I feel like that's the way it should have ended. But yeah, with the way it felt and the way it just feels like you ordered the pay-per-view and you're about to watch a real fight. That's what I like about most of these movies. So my number 4 is Rocky and Creed from the first film. Craig, what do you got at number 4?
My number 4 is going to be the Inception fight between Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Cillian Murphy's subconscious. When they're the walls are turning left and right, and they're floating and kind of running off the ceilings and the walls and everything. I just thought it was, you know, the way that they used that fight in that movie, kind of showing off how the outside world affects the subconscious sublevel. I thought that fight was really cool and well done. So that's my number 4.
Ed, what do you have at number 4?
Number 4, I'm going to take a trip down into your territory, Zach, and go with Lortz versus Aragorn. Or Aragorn, sorry.
He's got like 10 hate mails.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry about that, folks. So this was a really hard thought between that and the Boromir death scene, for that matter, because that's a very, very good scene. But I chose this because it's more. There's more story behind it, and it's Aragorn basically taking revenge for his friend, and of course Lortz is put as like the Ivan Drago of fucking orcs. So, when he gets the blade put in him, and all of a sudden he just fucking takes it, shoves it further, like, "What's up, bitch? Okay, this hurt a little bit, but I'm still here." And he takes it out, slices his fucking head off, clean ass decapitation. Pretty good little, pretty good little choreography with that little fight. So yeah, gotta say that's my number 4.
Zach, what do you have at number 3?
Number 3, I'm going to take a page, like you said, Ed, I'm going to take a page out of Craig's book. Number 3 is Iron Man versus Thanos in Infinity War. Pretty much a fight that, and again, another fight that's like maybe 2 minutes long, but is so action-packed and so tense, and that, but in the end of it, when he gets stabbed, you're just like, oh shit, this is all over. But obviously, like Marvel does, bigger plans are in effect. So
nice. My number 3 is going to be from The Wrestler. It's the hardcore match between Randy the Ram and the Butcher. Man, that thing is so brutal, and there's some people that's like, that stuff isn't really that brutal in real life. I'm like, yeah, it can get that brutal, but I just like how movies like that can show you the inside of the business and the inside of like what goes in and what kind of choreography can go into a match like that.
Like, obviously, you've never seen Last Man Standing matches. Some of them are fucking hardcore.
Yeah, but no, if there's if there's anybody out there that wants to see what I'm talking about, go out there and check out The Wrestler. It's pretty good. But don't watch anything that's like on TV or anything like that. You won't get the feeling from any like that WWE stuff. So that's my number 3. Is The Wrestler from I think it's 2008, 2009. Craig, what do you got at number 3?
My number 3 is going to be the Darth Maul versus Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon fight at the end of episode 1. Man, just the starting off kind of on the multi-tiered not stairs but walkways in that open area, and then finishing off with the laser corridor going to the final area. Just that fight may not have been as good, but with that Duel of the Fates song playing in the background, it just it's a fight that I can watch over and over and over and over again. It's just that good. It's
a fun movie.
That's my number 3.
Ed, what do you have at number 3?
Number 3, I'm going to go ahead and include the Ip Man versus Tin Men fight. This should be an Ip Man 2 if I'm not mistaken. So, I mean, it's obviously, a hard thing to fight one or a few multiple opponents, but, he went against 10 black belts for that matter and dusted them all. So, the master of Bruce Lee, man, he was no joke. Ip Man.
Zach, what do you have at number 2, sir?
Number 2 is the film we're talking about today, Creed versus Drago, the second fight after all shit's erupted. We'll be talking about here in a little bit.
My number 2 is going to be the bear versus the Leo scene from The Revenant. Not much of a fight, more like a fucking mauling, but it's the scene that, I'm still surprised to this day, but it's the scene that got Leo his Oscar, and it's just really, really brutal. So that's my number 2 from The Revenant. Craig, what about you? What's your number 2?
My number 2 is going to be Neo versus Mr. Anderson in the subway. It's kind of when Neo, they're telling him to run, and he's just like, no, I'm going to stay, and I'm going to stand my ground. And it's kind of the first time that he really starts to believe in himself. And just the fight between the two was awesome. And at the same time, you see Mr. Anderson kind of feel like, how is this guy able to stand toe to toe with me? I've ran through anybody else that's ever tried this. So, yeah, that fight scene in the subway is pretty good. So,
Ed, what do you have at number 2, sir?
Probably a lot of people might hate me in the martial arts world, but I'm going to go ahead and put Snape versus Mcgonagall right here. Everybody knew these two were very powerful individuals in the Harry Potter world, for that matter. But everybody's like, "Oh shit, Snape!" And then literally Mcgonagall, Harry steps forward and is about to go against him, and then McGonagall just steps in front of him and is like, "No, this is my fucking territory. I've had enough of this bastard. I'm good." And everybody's like, "Oh fuck, get the fuck out!"
What
of the
Harry
way.
Potter movie is that from?
This is from the 8th installment, Deathly Hallows Part 2, when the Crowers are getting their just desserts from McGonagall. She fucks all 3 of their shit up. She really does. You find out that, like, or no. Wow, I can't believe I just fucked up on that. This is fucking stupid. This is in number 6, Half-Blood Prince. Because after that,
Pigs are flying outside.
Fucking A. Obviously, after that, Snape is dead. So, yeah, but in number 6, the fucking Half-Blood Prince. God damn, what the fuck is wrong with me today? Basically, the school's been taken over. All shit's broke loose and all that stuff. And pretty much, yeah, come in and McGonagall fucks their shit up. So, yeah, she had enough.
Zach, my friend, what is your ultimate favorite fight scene?
So number 1, it's not really even a fight scene per se. There's no punches thrown or anything like that. It's more of like a psychological battle between the 2 characters at the end of the movie. I'm going to go with Andrew versus Fletcher from Whiplash, the caravan sequence at the end of the movie, where basically the entire film, Miles Teller's just been trying to practice and work his ass off to get this spot. And then J.K. Simmons, through basically torment and physical and verbal abuse, is like, "Fuck you, get off the stage." Miles Teller just gets up there, just like, "We're going, let's go." And then it's just the way the camera moves back and forth between the two is really well done. And at the end of the day, it's just like, yeah, he deserved that.
My number 1 is going to be from Empire Strikes Back, and it's the last, the final scene between Luke and Vader that just culminate. If you could end the whole thing right there and just have A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, that'd be fine. But it's it's just one of those things that I had to mention one kind of Star Wars movie, and I was sitting there thinking, I'm like, which one am I going to name? Like Craig said, Duel of the Fates is on there. Episode 3 between Anakin and Obi-Wan. Even the final one in Return of the Jedi. But I think Empire was such a game changer when it came to movies and film and that franchise that it's just so memorable, and it's just it's everything you want in a final epic battle scene at the end of a movie. So that's my number 1 is Vader versus Luke from Empire Strikes Back. Craig, what about you? What's your number 1?
Is there any other fight that I would pick besides this one? Iron Man versus Cap and Bucky at the end of Civil War.
That's a good one.
When
I thought it was going to be a Star Wars one, to be honest. It was number 1.
No, just when Iron Man finds out, or Robert Downey Jr. finds out that Chris Evans knew that Bucky killed his parents, and he's like, "I thought I was your friend," or "He's my friend," and Iron Man says, "So am I," or so was I. And they just kind of go at it, and I mean, the back and forth between Cap and Bucky going after Iron Man was just awesome. And then it takes that shot from inside the building, kind of looking outside, and you see kind of the silhouettes of them. Yeah, that ending fight was just everything I wanted it to be, honestly. Yeah, it's my number one.
Ed, what do you have at number one?
Number one, I'm going to have to go ahead and go back to another Bruce Lee moment and put in another legendary martial arts figure in Chuck Norris, The Way of the Dragon. Chuck Norris was a hairy fucking bastard back then. But, they come up in these ruins and all that, and, I mean, honestly, fuck each other's shit up. It's kind of like, in a way, you wonder if some of the actual action was real or wasn't real, for that matter, especially with these two and their backgrounds. So yeah, I've got to say, if you've never checked out Way of the Dragon, if you like martial arts movies, you need to check that. Need to 100%. It's an awesome fight. So.
Don't forget, guys, this episode is brought to you by San Marcos Mexican Restaurant, located at 2301 Southwest 59th Street, right here in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Call them ahead of time and get it to go order at 405-685-7773 with great weekday specials starting at $6.99 Monday through Friday. Get you some great food and even better service. The official restaurant of the Cine-Men Movie Podcast, San Marcos Mexican Restaurant. All right, guys, today we are talking about Creed 2. I'm excited. Literally 3 years ago when we started this podcast, I wanted to talk about nothing but Rocky movies, but, obviously can't do that. But we could talk Creed 2 3 years later after talking about the first one. It stands on IMDb at 7.1. Rotten Tomatoes is at 83%, and then the Metascore is at 66%. It had a Thanksgiving Day opening of November 21st, 2018. With a budget of $50 million, and it grossed a little over $215 million at the box office. It stars Michael B. Jordan, Sylvester Stallone, Tessa Thompson, and then you have Dolph Lundgren coming back as Ivan Drago. Guys, let's talk about it. Creed 2. Zach, we'll start with you. Do you remember seeing this in the theaters, or did you check it out at home?
No, I saw this in the theaters. I actually saw this in the director's suite at the Warren.
Ah, there you go.
I think after the success of Creed and how critically well it was well received, I think it was inevitable that it was going to be a sequel. And I was nervous by it because I was like, are they just going to do the Rocky trope and just kind of do the same thing over and over? But
they did.
They did, but I think they succeeded probably more than in some of the other films. But yeah, I walked out of this as like, yeah, this is just as good or maybe even better than the first film.
We'll definitely talk about that. How did it hold up in this recent watch?
It still holds up, even after 3-4 watches later.
Yeah, for me, I really, this is, and I'll go in through why I have so many negatives on my first watch, but my first watch, I didn't think this was it was a good movie, but to me it wasn't great comparing it to the first one. So I didn't leave the theater very happy. But on my second, third rewatch, I was a lot more pleased with it this time around. So we'll get into that. Craig, what about you? Did you check this out in the theater? Or
No.
How was your first watch compared to maybe this past time?
This was my first watch. Yeah,
Nice.
I think I've only watched the first Creed one time as well, and then finally got around to watching this one for the podcast. I thought it was good. I thought the first one just had a little bit more to it, with it being sort of an original storyline. Yeah, we'll talk about it here in a little bit.
Ed, what about you? Is this the first time you've checked this out?
This is actually the first time I've checked it out over a few days ago, for that matter. So yeah, so far I liked it. Really did. Liked it a lot.
All right, let's get into it, guys. It takes place, I believe, just a few years after the original Creed. Because they'd been dating for a while, they say. So, under the tutelage of Rocky Balboa, newly crowned heavyweight champion Adonis Creed faces off against Victor Drago, the son of Ivan Drago, who killed Apollo Creed in Rocky IV. Let's start off. I mean, it does start off with him winning the world championship against the same guy who, knocked him out in the sparring session in the first film. What do you think? Literally, the first 17 minutes, 5-10 minutes, he wins the world championship, and you're kind of like, most Rocky movies have the one big fight, but this one really has an Act 1, 2, and then an Act 3 fight.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a positive that I talk about right offhand, because in select movies in the past, you have one culmination building up to one fight, maybe two if you're lucky. But this one has three, and I think it was told beautifully the first 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm. I think, but even before that, we kind of see like a fact check or a real life check of what happened to Drago after Rocky IV. He's kind of, him and his son are kind of low lives, or
they're outcasts. Now.
Outcasts, yeah. They're homeless dogs, as he eventually says to Rocky in his restaurant. And I like that, you do two different callbacks from the first film. One being the did you take a shit before putting on your gloves before you go out to fight, and the Mustang car, the give me the keys back, since I won this one. I'm actually better than you than the last time.
And straight up, it says, in 2 or 3 years, he had 6 fights. He went on a 6-fight win streak after losing to Pretty Ricky in that first one.
Mm-hmm.
And then, in his opening match, or in the opening scene, he wins the world title. I want to talk about, that's one thing in my notes here, Zach, you brought up the Ivan Drago backstory. I kind of wish they had a little bit more of a flashback to why he was such an outcast. Maybe even just a 2-minute dialogue of him talking or something, because obviously they brought Bridget Nelson back, so I wanted her in the movie a little bit more than what I saw. And I know it's not about really the father Drago, but I still wanted to see that. Like, I wanted to see what happened physically and, financially about why he is the way he is now.
I agree with you to a certain extent, but I just think that's that scene that where him and Drago and Rocky are just talking in the restaurant, just like, you basically destroyed my entire life since after you won. I think that's all you need.
Mm-hmm.
I think you maybe could have done, like you said, like a little flashback, but I don't think it's necessary. The dialogue is, you can get all that in that 2-minute sequence, 2-minute scene. But overall, it is a revenge movie, basically, between young Creed and young Drago, and even Drago and Creed, to a certain extent,
Yeah.
So,
Ed, what did you think? What did you think about the opening sequence?
Pretty cool. I mean, you get on top of the world, basically, like you said, winning the title and all that in the first, few, like, 15, 20 minutes, like you said. Kind of going from, like, not really looked as trash, but looked as, like, your dad's name is the only reason you're fucking here. Like, who are you? Kind of thing.
No, I mean, it didn't really. You don't really get that vibe the first 15 minutes from that at all.
No. I mean, like, going from, like, the first film and all that, the way the challenger, the way the champ was looking at him is kind of like, your father's name's the only reason you're here. Who the fuck are you? Kind of thing, to actually beating that guy and showing him, like, this is who the fuck I am. Is a big difference in that. So, what
about you, Craig? The first 15 minutes was it fun for you?
Yeah, just immediately coming off as being the WBC champ. You're kind of figuring out, like, okay, if he's the champ, where does it go from here? And eventually we see that the storyline isn't really about being the champion of anything. It's about him holding up his name and legacy versus uh, the revenge of Drago, not even really towards him, just towards Rocky and what he did, and them trying to become relevant back in where they're from. So,
one thing I've noticed about all these movies, are you guys okay with them not putting the belt on a pedestal? Like, yeah, it's an important thing, but it's not like what drives him to be a fighter. It's not what drives him to be. He doesn't want to be the man. He doesn't want to have the belt, but he's just. This is more of the legacy kind of thing.
I think it's more about the character, or the character of the character, for that matter. It's kind of like, okay, yeah.
I just feel like he needs something to chase, but it doesn't feel like he's chasing in the first one or this one.
I
Obviously this because he opens up winning the belt, but
well, I mean, they have to have it a little different because Rocky was more chasing like, what he wanted in life for his family and stuff like that.
Right, legacy.
And in this, it's sort of the same thing, but I mean, he's got a little different of a twist on some of his life happenings.
In creating your own legacy, like with Rocky, and creating your own legacy, the chasing of the belt is pushed back. I think legacy is showing, like, you're not going to sit here and say, Jordan, when you go back and talk about, like, we'll put it in real life, Michael Jordan's legacy, the legacy that he has as being the greatest of all time encompasses all of that: the belts, the championships, the scoring titles, defensive, and I think that's kind of where this is going is, in building that legacy, if I'm going to have that name behind everything, the belts will come with it. So I don't think it's really pushing the belts aside. I just think in creating what he's going for is bringing all of that along with it.
What about you, Zach? That was a good point, but how do you feel? Do you feel like it's the same thing as like, it doesn't? To me, I feel like it doesn't need it, but it's nice that it's mentioned more in this movie than it is in any other movies.
I think because the first movie focuses so much on legacy and trying to build something that is not related to Apollo Creed, I think it works in that movie. In this movie, you say he's not driving for something or trying to go after something. He is, in a sense, in that, at least in the first fight, Rocky says, why do you want to take the fight? And ultimately it's about revenging his father. That's all it's about.
And that's the thing that kind of, if I have one negative throughout these two films, is in both movies, everybody is like, why do you want to be a fighter? Why do you want to be a fighter? And then, when you, obviously what happened to his dad and stuff, but I'm just kind of tired of hearing why, let the man fight. Because you hear that in all the movies. Why do you want to be a fighter? I know it's true. A lot of people, even probably in real life, why do you want to be a fighter? But it's I think it's just overly said throughout these movies. At least these last two.
I agree. But I think it's just kind of like you're asking him for him to ask himself, like, am I fighting for reasons that I believe are necessary, or am I fighting for reasons that the public seems necessary? Like,
yeah.
So,
but it's also, I mean, I would agree with you to an extent about, the whole "why are you fighting" thing. But I mean, in the first movie, he's like, why do you want to fight? You have a job. You can, you can make it. Yeah, you can do stuff that I couldn't do. In this, it's like
they don't want history to repeat itself.
Yes. And like you say, Craig, it's about the public wants to see this fight, but do they want it to end the way? They don't want it to end the way it did the first time, or they expect it not to. But, it kind of does to an extent, but it's not to that extreme.
And I want to talk about the Rocky and his son's relationship in this. You hear it throughout the movie that Rocky and Bobby don't really talk. They haven't talked in quite some time. Are you glad that it just kind of didn't focus too much on Rocky in this movie? Anybody? Like Rocky is definitely more of the like he was enough. He was in the movie quite a bit in the first one, but this one he takes a bigger step back, and it's almost like now it's Creed's time.
Well, I mean, essentially it's supposed to be about that because I mean, you go from boxer to coach. I mean, honestly, you can't, be a boxer your entire life until you're 105 years old.
Well, I'm not talking about that. Yeah. I'm not talking about his fighting career. I'm just talking about more like his personal life. Yeah, the story.
Yeah. I think
you have little sprinkles of Rocky in this movie.
I think with how big of a name Rocky is, you can't just leave him as being a coach. You got to throw in something to kind of relate to him again. So I think having that kind of storyline that he struggles not with, not being a fighter anymore, but more so of like how he's struggling with coping with his personal life. And I think it's a nice little sprinkle of him in here.
And then everybody's kind of just, he's like the only one living. He's lost Paulie, he's lost Adrian, he's lost Mick, and then he's lost Apollo, Apollo's trainer. So he's literally like the
last one.
The last one.
They kind of do a 360 on this, and that's Bianca, Tessa Thompson. She takes more of a role in this movie, and then Rocky takes a back seat, which I like because by the time we get working, I'm jumping ahead a little bit. By the time we get to the end, Rocky says, "It's your time. You don't need me anymore."
You think Stallone kind of ruined somewhat of an ending before this movie came out in 2018?
He went on Twitter and said that.
He said this is his last, appearance ever being Rocky. Do you think he kind of spoiled or just ruined what could have been a better ending?
I knew because I remember I read about that before seeing the movie.
We talked about it, I think.
Yeah, and I'm just like. I'm torn because it was kind of a nice heads up saying, hey, this is my final movie, but at the same time, just like you're right, it probably would have been a more impactful ending of just handing the franchise off to Michael B. Jordan.
And I'm glad it ended like that, and we'll get into the ending later because like Rocky V, he wanted the character to die, and then he completely rewrote the whole script. Like, hey, you can't have the character die. So in Creed, even though I was sobbing like a big ass baby, I didn't want that character to die, and I kind of knew he wasn't going to, but I think this ending is a lot better, and we'll talk about that when it gets time.
Well, did anyone like... There was a part of me, I guess, just kind of reading the theories of just people, Jesus.
Creed 3?
No, not Creed 3, but for Creed 2, there was a lot of people thought that maybe Rocky was dead, and he was just kind of like a figment of Adonis's mind.
Oh, kind of like the Big Lebowski theory.
Yeah.
About Steve Buscemi's character.
Yeah.
I think that's a fun that's a fun theory.
Like he died between 1 and 2, and Adonis kind of Rocky became a father figure for him.
That would have been kind of a fun theory, but there's just too many. Like everybody else can see Rocky too. So.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense.
What do you guys think about the actor right quick? Who plays Victor in this movie? You think they made him too big and too scary? His name is Florian Montagne Constantine. Do you guys think
is he a boxer in real life?
I think he is. No, he's an actor. But I think do you guys feel like he and he's going to be in the new Shang-Chi. Do you guys feel like they made him maybe like too big and too scary looking?
I mean, he's the son of Ivan Drago.
Yeah,
so
but
he's
when you
a big fucking dude.
Kind of, but when you go back and look at a lot of famous athletes, the apple falls way too fucking far from the tree.
Right, but I mean, in a sense, this is.
And did you guys like? I'll kind of turn that into like a two-story answer or question. Did you guys like the callback to bringing somebody else's son to fight somebody else's son? Ed, so go ahead and continue what you were saying.
I mean, okay, so you're saying the apple falls far from the tree. In a huge sense, that is the way it is. Literally, that is the way it is. Just because in Rocky IV, Ivan was very clean cut, very very well built. I mean, like you said earlier, he was basically like the perfect image right there. He was supposed to be the top tier, 100%, can't be beat. He's got everything. Proved him wrong, and all that. In this, he has. I mean, in his like you said earlier, Zach. He's like a stray, as he says. I
just feel like he doesn't have any acting chops. He just he's completely dull in this movie to me. What about you, Craig? Do you enjoy the bringing back the son of a fighter to do another son of a fighter gimmick?
I mean, there's a little bit more than just the son of a fighter. It's it's kind of Ivan Drago wanting respect back on his name and not wanting to be a dog, as he put it. So I think there's a little bit more to that. And I think he's just like, he tells him right here, like, I lost, but you won't. So it's almost like he's raising his son to be everything that Ivan had hoped to be, and teaching him the right way and making him just a pure monster to come back and completely dominate the boxing world. So it's a little bit more of a story than just a son of a fighter. You know what I mean?
What about you, Zach? Did you appreciate the bringing back the Drago name?
I think I'm torn on it because I think I enjoy it, but I think it was obvious. So, like, whether if Creed was just going to be a one film standalone film or whatever, I mean, you knew if there was going to be sequels, this was coming, whether it be this one or the third one or whatever. And so the whole idea of young Creed versus young Drago, it's an idea that
was easily thought of.
Yeah. Because I don't know. I don't think there's any plot or ideas of what they're going to do for Creed 3. But part of me thinks I think they should have waited for Creed 3 to do this.
Yeah, but I feel like Creed 3, in order for it to be successful, it needs to stand alone.
Yeah.
You probably need one or two mentions of Rock. Other than that, it needs to be on it. It's whole
almost
thing.
do like a reset the deck thing.
Yeah. There doesn't need to be another callback. There doesn't need to be,
But at the same time, it's like he's the world champion now at this point. So really, what else is there to do?
Yeah.
Other than have somebody come in and try to challenge him and then possibly beat him at the end. Like, I don't know if there's anything else you can do for a Creed 3.
I mean, it's an early development, so that's true. I do agree with that. Like, I feel like this is the perfect way to just end everything.
Yeah.
Talk about the ending of Creed 2. Rocky and Creed argue pretty heavily in this movie. I think 2 or 3 times. You guys think that what do you guys think about the relationship in this one?
It's very father-sonish. The in this one, Rocky's kind of thinking more so along the lines of, you need to do what's best for you. You don't need to take those risks. Do what's best for your health at this point, because obviously he tells him, things are broken in me that can't be fixed when he's talking about facing Ivan Drago or his son. And then Creed's more so along the line of, I just need to do anything and everything I can. He's the heavyweight champion. So the pressure's all on him to prove himself over and over and over again. And I think that's what's going on in his head in this film is, I'm at the top. I have to prove I am at the top. I have to be the best I can be at everything at all given time. And Rocky's like, you don't have to prove shit to anybody. You've already become the world heavyweight champion. So
there's also a big going along with that of the idea of rewriting history. Everyone knows Apollo was killed by Ivan. This is Adonis' chance to, quote unquote, avenge that, or say, hey, no, that was a fuck up, but I'm not.
Let's get into the second fight of the film, which is the first fight between Drago and Creed. Obviously one comes in super ready. Not to say Creed isn't ready, but he just gets completely knocked out. Did you guys like the little, because me personally, I'm thinking back to the third one, or just thinking that, he's going to get knocked out, lose the belt, then he's going to have the whole chase sequence and chase it at the end.
Mm-hmm.
But they kind of threw,
the
twist to where, he got disqualified. So even though Drago knocked him out, he got disqualified, which means he doesn't get the belt. So now you get, Creed is kind of just laying in the bed, just slumped. Like, I know deep down I didn't beat him, and he was literally just one punch away from winning the belt. So did you like the twist?
I did. It threw in a twist of, the obvious of him chasing the belt and everything. And it also added the narrative of people adding more pressure to already what I was saying about him thinking he has to be the best at everything. And ESPN and the people on the Showtime Boxing or whatever HBO Boxing are talking about. Is he chicken? Is he running? Is he scared to fight? What's Creed's next move? And
Yeah.
I think you just keep hearing that narrative throughout the film, and it's basically what's going on in Creed's head. So,
What about you guys, Zach and Ed? You guys enjoy the twists?
Yeah, I mean, they really do play it really close to the chest of are they going to kill Michael B. Jordan off in this movie? But obviously they're not. But and I do like the whole like you said, Chris, the twist of that final punch from Drago is not even so much of I don't even care about the belt. I just want to like punish you for what that whole history did to my dad. So, what about you, Ed?
It's more the fact of that they're just like their own dads. One's egotistical, thinks, I'm the champ now. Okay, I got this shit. It's good. He's some foreign dude. Fuck him. The other, and he's not ready for him. At all. And on top of that, he comes in ignorant. He has no knowledge of what this dude does, how he fights, nothing. So,
Are you talking
there's
about
part
Creed?
of that. Creed, yes. Drago, little Victor Drago, he comes in and he doesn't know all that much maybe, but he knows more definitely than Creed knows about him. And he comes in ready. He comes in hot and hammered, and he comes in very, very, hot-headed for that matter. And that's what eventually is part of his downfall, is that, he gets that, oh, I'm just here to fuck him up, and it leads to his disqualification because he's too hot-headed. He doesn't take, step back, he's down on knee, not fully up, step back and, 2-3 punches more, fuck his shit up, get the belt, be out.
I will like what Craig said about you brought up the real sports broadcasters, and everything Stallone does in all these movies is like he makes sure that he surrounds his boxing story with the real life boxing guys, whether it be the announcers, cameramen, interviewers, Showtime, HBO, all the way. Rocky II had Brent Musburger in it, so always bringing these kind of people into the movie makes it feel real.
Right.
Well, yeah, and that's what he had to set up with the first movie, because if that failed, even if he did 6 more, you ain't getting those guys. They're gonna be like, dude, this is a piece of shit.
Right.
I'm not fucking appearing on that.
I do also like the twist that Rocky's like, I'm not going to be there for that fight. You can take it, but I'm not going to be there. So it sets up the opportunity of obviously him losing, and then you kind of see where it's going to go. That Rock's going to come back and train him, and he's going to have them in the right mind and show them some way. The twist of them going to
The desert.
be reborn is different.
Yeah.
But the Rocky coming back and being there for him in his corner is...
He's doing for Creed what Creed did for Rocky in the third one.
Right.
Yeah.
Getting knocked out by Clubber Lang and going back and literally training with the rats.
Well, he learned sophistication, style, movement, and all that. To where this is he's learning, how to get his ass beat.
Do you guys think that there was too much history repeating itself too fast? And I'm talking about just recalling a lot of stuff. In the first 30 minutes, you have an engagement, you have a new baby, you have a brand new home, you have a world title win, and it's just like, everybody didn't want Creed to look just like Rocky. All right, cool, you did that. Creed 2 just follows Rocky 2 and just in the footsteps, and then you kind of feels like a mixture of a little bit of everything. Do you guys kind of feel that same way? Because like I said, if you wanted Creed 2 and 3, you could have maybe spanned that out into 2 or 3 movies. But Rocky 2 marries Adrian, has a baby.
Yeah.
Health issues, gets engaged, new home.
I mean,
you kind of feel like it's just...
I mean, you could really make an argument that this is basically a combination of 2 and 4, basically. Because, like you said, Greg,
or 2 through 4.
Yeah, because this movie, 4, Rocky trains in the tundra and Creed trains out in the desert. I mean, it's literally the environments are different.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Don't get me, I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying I felt too many callbacks.
Right.
Well, is that because you watched all the movies before this and you're just like, oh, that's that, that's that, that's that?
Probably,
Yeah.
but I just still.
I mean, it's not bad. It worked for me. I didn't complain about it at all walking into the theater, but I can see how if you are a true.
No, I liked it more this time around than I did the first time.
Okay.
So yeah,
I agree with you, Zach. I think if you're an absolute, diehard Rocky fan and you know every detail of every film, this might be a turnoff for you.
Mm-hmm.
But to the average viewer, the average moviegoer or boxing fan, this film definitely was good enough to exceed your expectations.
Yeah.
Even comparing it to the first one, I thought this one was a little bit superb. But we'll kind of compare and contrast first to second.
Mm-hmm.
Rocky's illness in the first one wasn't brought up really at all in this one. Were you guys kind of shocked, or did you not want any kind of mentions?
When I go ahead, Ed. Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say it's kind of like what you said earlier. They made him take a back seat. They introduced that. They introduced what's going on with him. Okay, that story's there. You know it. Cool. Let's go on. Kind of thing. And it's more about the whole life of what Creed's going through and what he has to build himself up, get knocked down, and then build up again. So I mean, I think it's a good thing that they didn't. But, yeah.
I kind of wish he didn't have cancer in the first one. I kind of wish, and I wrote this in my notes, him being such a big, long-time boxer, and he dealt with brain and head injuries in 4 and 5. I kind of wish they had brought, he struggled more with CTE in the first film instead of maybe cancer.
Well, I really thought going into the movie that, they didn't pull the trigger in the first movie, but I really thought they were going to do it in this one. I thought he would die when he's in the hospital about to go call his son. I thought maybe he would fall over or something. Or he would die just right then. And
goddamn.
And then Creed was by himself for the final fight, So, not only does he has to prove that he's doing it for the right reasons, but he's doing it for Rocky. So.
Yeah.
What would have been, to change it up even a little bit to suit that narrative would be, say Rocky took him to the desert, he trained him, he had everything ready to go. Mm-hmm. She has the baby right before the fight. Mm-hmm. He dies there, and then the fight's 3 days later. Then that would have been, I'm doing it for Rocky.
Yeah. Because which one is Dracula. It? Is it 2?
1, 2, or 3.
Which one is it that Mickey dies? Is it 3? 3? Yeah.
Hopefully they don't do that. But no, I will say the story leading up to the third and final fight of the movie, them having the baby. Let's talk about that scene where the mom calls him out and says, when is she due? Did you guys like from that point and then to where she has the baby? Because I'll tell you, when she had the baby and they're sitting there, guessing if the baby's gonna be able to hear or not, I'm like,
the hearing
test.
It's
too fucking emotional for me.
Yeah, that was brutal. First time watch.
Yeah.
Because I mean, that was even one of my fears with my eye was was Adley going to have any issues with her sight or vision? So I can definitely kind of feel how they were feeling in this film. Luckily we didn't have anything like that, but the fear of having issues beforehand was definitely real.
But I do like that scene, that conversation between Creed and Rocky after she has the hearing test. It's like she's not feeling sorry for herself. You don't. I mean, I understand that's your daughter and you want everything to be right for her, but she doesn't know.
Yeah.
And I like Rocky's response when he's sitting there talking to him and he's like, have you thought about what it would be like if something was wrong with the baby? Mm-hmm. And I know that you have to sit there and think positive, but it is kind of
you have to be ready for everything.
Yeah.
The news of having it done is almost worse than the actual outcome. Third and final fight, you get to see them kind of, going into Mexico or wherever the desert is.
Did you like that training montage?
I did. I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was well kept. I thought it was kept away from. One thing about all these training montages in this one is it's their own. You know what I mean? It doesn't have any really callbacks, and it's just like let's show them how Creed does it.
Well, and I like at the training camp when they add the tire setup.
Yeah,
it's showing that if you just stand inside and you're inside on Victor, that's kind of where the fight goes.
Yeah.
And so having that tire and having them practice with being able to maneuver standing toe to toe with them, I thought was subtle enough to show where the fight was going to go. And whenever it did happen, you either knew it or you were like, oh, that's why they have the tire set up at practice. And
Yeah.
so I thought that was a good little subtle thing at the training camp.
And then I want to mention these two actors before we get into, the ending. Russell Hornsby, who played Buddy, the promoter, and then Wood Harris, who plays little Tony Duke Burton. Those two actors in this movie have, obviously they're not big roles, but they were so good in the roles that they were in this selected film.
Like the
I love a loud.
What was the name of the promotional guy?
Oh, Buddy.
Buddy. Like, you can just tell, like, right off the hand, like, this guy is like, oh, this is just some slime bag that, he's doing it for the name, he's doing it for the money, and
which is good.
Yeah, Little Duke. Is that right?
Yeah, Tony.
Tony, he's like, dude, you need to think about it. Even he's on Rocky's side. You need to think about this before you actually go through with it.
Yeah.
So.
But I want to, just give a call out to those two because I think they both did really, really well in their spots that they were doing and the spots that they were in. Final fight, Rocky. He's out there for in the corner. Do you feel like the fight went too fast, or how did you guys like that final fight? Did you guys enjoy it? I enjoyed the hell out of it.
Yeah, I will say I noticed it on this rewatch that the cinematography is even different from the first film because Coogler's, I think, real desire was to have like wide shots for the fight. Yeah. This one's like really like first person, like in your face.
Coogler had more shots in front of a live crowd.
Yeah,
they used more CGI. I feel like in this one.
Yeah,
so that's
I would
why
agree with that.
That's why you have more one-on-one, and I think they used more. I'm not wanting to say there was a stunt double, but I am wanting to say there might have been a stunt double for Michael B. Jordan in the first one. I think he did all of his real fights in this one, which was why you have more close-ups in this one than you did the first one.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Another good thing of like if you do your own stunts, man, more power off to those guys because you get really good close-up shots.
Yeah.
Craig, what about you? What'd you like about the final fight?
I just liked the whole kind of atmosphere. I mean, you knew he wasn't going to get his ass beat like he did the first one, but you knew it was going to be an all-out war because, Victor isn't digressing. The only thing that could have happened was Michael B. Jordan getting better. And with how much of a beating Victor put on him the first round, you knew it was going to be an all-out war. But I think just him having a clear mind and kind of, I'm fighting for my kid, my family, and, he went through the whole training camp of being a reborn fighter. I think that was a good little setup for the fight. And the way the fight goes down, he starts off strong and, Victor kind of realizes like, hey, I'm not backing down. And, he just keeps looking back at his mom and
his mom and then Tessa Thompson's character.
So it's just, you kind of knew once the mom walked away that Victor was either going to be all out, and I was guessing two ways. He was going to be so pissed off that he just knocks Michael B. Jordan out, or he does what he does and just kind of gives up. But I thought the fight was great.
I did like Bianca singing them out to the ring. I thought that was a nice touch.
That was pretty cool. But yeah, I agree that something that's a little bit different is they don't focus too much on rounds in this movie.
Yeah.
Like, he gets the knockout, but you don't really remember the round he knocked him out,
yeah.
but which is fine. But yeah, I really enjoyed the final fight. Creed just comes out and he pretty much just dominates. Really, after the second or third round, I think he kind of just dominates.
Yeah. Towards the end there, before before Creed kind of does like the final blow it's just they're going at it like hand and fist, like they're every time one drops down and they get back up, they're just like, damn it, how much more damage do I need to do?
Yeah, and then you have like Craig said, did you think Drago was just going to walk out too?
No, I didn't think Ivan was going to walk out, but seeing the mom walk out, You were like, shit.
She looks rough. She looked really rough in this movie. I was surprised. I think Dolph Lundgren aged a lot better than she did. Little fun fact: you guys know that Sylvester Stallone was once married to Bridget Nelson.
Yeah.
So, like to have been a fly on that wall, huh? But let's talk some. You guys want to talk about the ending? Rocky kind of gives his salute, and the wide shot of Rocky sitting there, and you see Creed getting the photographies done. What do you guys think of? I like this send off better than the character dying. What do you guys think?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think anyone wants Rocky to die, but I mean,
you know he's got to go away.
Yes. But the question is, how are they going to do that?
Yeah.
And I think, like you said, Johnny, just the wide shot and just pulling out, and Rocky, he can finally let go of the boxing world while Creed continues to ascend to the top.
I think it's the same way for Dolph Lundgren and Drago as well, though, because he threw the towel in the match, and I think Dolph is like, you get some sense of I fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was fighting for the wrong reasons. I taught my son everything. Everything was built on hate. Everything was built on fixing my legacy instead of building him up as his own person, creating his own legacy, creating his own personality, and creating a boxer out of talent and his own fight and drive. Everything was out of revenge.
Yeah. And I would have been fine with this ending right here. If this just completely ended the film,
credits,
that would have been perfect. But it doesn't. You get to see Apollo Creed's burial grounds. But I do like the throwing in of the towel to end the fight because like Craig said, he realizes he did everything for the wrong reasons, and then he sees his son just sitting there getting pounded.
Yeah,
and he's like, Rocky should have.
Well, it shows that in Rocky IV he was kind of a monster, a cold-hearted guy that didn't give a shit about anything. And, he, fuck that I just killed your friend. I'm gonna break your ass too. Let's go, kind of thing. And now he's like, okay, yeah, there's a time to be that guy, but there's also, I care about this guy too. He's my boy. I can't let anything like that happen to him. So yeah, exactly. He comes out and he's warmer, still stoic, but he's warmer.
Rocky ending the film talking to his son, played by the same actor who played him in Rocky Balboa. I was perfectly fine with that ending. What about you guys?
Yeah, I think it wraps up. It really just wraps up Rocky as a character himself, but also on the Creed side of things,
it kind of wraps that up too.
It does, and not only that, but he's able to step out of his father's shadow.
Yeah,
in a way, because he's able to go and talk. I think he said that this was the first time he's actually gone to the cemetery or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I just think if there is a 3, fine, I'll definitely see it, but I don't think you need it. I think it's just a perfect ending that wraps everything up.
Apollo and Victor tag team champions.
Fuck it, man.
Let's do some fantasy booking for a quick minute. If you guys had a Rocky or a Creed 3, what would you want to see? Me personally, Stallone's not going to be in it. I don't think you need to even say the name's Rocky. Maybe one or two lines, but other than that, I think it should just be it needs to be a closed chapter. And I think it needs to be a film on its own. And then I think you need to see Creed have a young retirement so he can kind of like step back and be like, I'm going to do what my father was never able to do.
So twist plot. Robert Balboa comes in and just whoops the shit out of Creed, like dominates the fuck out of him.
He looks like he can't even fight an ant.
I mean, hey, maybe Logan.
He looks like he's getting ready to film an episode of This Is Us.
Maybe 10-year-old Logan goes and kicks his ass or something.
Yeah.
Nah, I mean, I hope they don't do like, oh, this is Clubber Lang's son. Whoop his ass now too.
They just do sons. That's the gimmick. They do sons now.
Right. But I mean, in all honesty, like they could go ahead and even just end it now, and the story goes that he had the belt, and that's all there is to it. I mean, honestly.
What about you, Craig? You have anything that you want to throw something you'd like to see, or do you think this is a perfect ending?
I kind of said throughout the when we were talking earlier, like there's nothing really you can do. He's the WBC heavyweight champion at the beginning of the film, and then the only real reason he continued to fight was just because he knew he had to kind of cement his own legacy and honor his dad. At the same time, he was pressured into the fight the first time, so the only reason he took the second fight was just kind of he believed in himself a little bit more than what he did the first time, and he just wanted to prove to himself that he could do it. So as far as like a storyline, I don't know if there's anything else you can do. So
perfect ending. Let's talk about some favorite scenes. If you guys want to get any favorite scenes off your chest, I know for sure my favorite scene is definitely going to be the ending. I think it was a perfect fucking ending to the whole franchise. Rocky, Creed, and then I'm gonna have to go ahead and say the opening scene where he wins the belt, and some of just the laughter and the fun scenes between him and Rocky. I kind of didn't enjoy them arguing, just because I know that they really like each other and they really love each other, and they're solid. So, what about you guys?
I like the desert scene and just kind of how somebody of his caliber would probably never be in that situation, but the fact that it's Rocky and he tells him like, hey, you want to be reborn, you got to start from the bottom, and that's why we're here. So I thought that was a cool scene. And then just some of the scenes in the main fights between him and Ivan or Victor.
Zach, what about you?
Yeah, I'm gonna go like you said, Johnny. I think the ending is really perfect. You don't need to do anything else. The whole just that moment of the passing of the torch, it's your time. I thought that was just a perfect. If Sly is done with Rocky, you don't need to do any more. That's good. The training montage in the desert was awesome, and I actually really enjoyed the dinner at the mom's house where it's revealed that Bianca's pregnant. I thought that was kind of a funny, lighthearted moment.
Yeah. Ed, what about you? Do you have any favorite scenes you want to throw out there?
I've got two. The moment between Ivan Drago and Victor Drago after he won the fight, or well, not really won, but after he did kind of show like I'm the dominant force over Apollo or Adonis. Basically, Victor gets up and all that. He's pissed off and all that shit because like now you're accepting us when you're my mother and you didn't give a shit about me before, but now I accept you. I accept you and it's all good.
That's pretty fun that you had the mom scene with the mom and Creed, and then one of yours is the mom and Drago's dinner scene. That's pretty funny.
Well, I mean, it just kind of shows like how much Victor changed Ivan for that matter, and how much good he did for him. As well as the cemetery scene, kind of like not really necessarily like.
Which one? The one at the end or the one where Rocky's talking to Adrian?
The one at the end with Apollo's
gravesite.
Thank you. It kind of shows in both worlds, one thing, okay, this is what Rocky got to do because, he got to see his grandchild and all that stuff. And he realized like, man, I've got to start doing what I need to do, so I at least end on a good note. To where with Apollo, he didn't get that. He ended on a bad note at a weird time in his at a peak time in his life that it shouldn't have gone down like that. But his son is trying to do the best he can to honor his legacy as well as create his own. So it's just like you get going forward, you get that. Like we've said, you can either end it right here and it would be a great ending, kind of like the chapter's closed on that whole thing, or you could go ahead and open it up with a whole new different set of rules or set of people or what the fuck ever, I mean.
So we'll go ahead and start what we ended with you. You named off your favorite scenes. What would you give this in star rating?
I would say an 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Zach, what about you?
really. I mean, I think it succeeds in what it's trying to set out to do, even though, like we said, you can really see the Rocky tropes throughout this movie.
Rocky.
Honestly, dude, I'm gonna give it a 10. I think it's a really well done film, and I think it is right up there with the first Creed.
I'm gonna give it a 9. That's what I rated Creed. I'm gonna rate this one the same. There's not a lot wrong with it. Like I said, if you're just sitting here watching it from a 1 and 2 perspective, or even the first one, or just a standalone film, like Craig said, it's got enough to keep you entertained throughout the whole movie. The performances are really fun. The small rant is that none of these guys got nominated for Best Supporting or Best Actor in the second one. And then bringing Dolph Lundgren back, I was kind of worried about how is he going to look or feel or act in the movie, but I think he did a really good job. He knocked it out of the park.
Mm-hmm.
Tessa Thompson, I feel like she should have gotten nominated for Best Supporting Actress in this fucking movie.
Yeah.
She stole the show. She was my 2 thumbs up for this movie because, in the first one, Michael B. Jordan did really good. Sylvester Stallone, to me, stole the show in the first one.
Oh, yeah.
Tessa Thompson did that for this movie. And the fight sequences were really good. The boxing looked great, and it felt like you were watching pay-per-view. So I give this movie a 9. Craig, what about you?
I'm going to go with an 8. Just a good, like I said, good overall film. It can stand alone because it gives you just enough background to kind of fill you in on the storyline and why things are going the way they are. You don't really need to watch the Rockies to understand what's going on in this film.
You don't even need to watch First Creed, I don't think.
Yeah, pretty much. But as a standalone film, give it an 8. As a continuation of Rocky, still give it an 8. So, good film.
Fun movie, guys. Don't forget, next week we are talking Black Panther. This week we're going to finish it up with some emails. So send us some emails at cinemen921@gmail.com. That's cinemen921@gmail.com.
Ooh, the mail's here. That means we get to see our old friend, Mailbox.
We don't have a mailbox, but we do have a hefty sack of mail. So we're going to go ahead and get into the mailbag. And then don't forget, guys, everybody is flooding with Justice League and Pixar emails. I'm saving those emails for the next 2 weeks. 2018 was so fucking packed. And we're talking back-to-back 2018 movies. So next week, send us in an email about what your favorite top 5 movies from 2018 was. And play along with us here at the podcast when we talk top 5 next week. So this week, I'll run through just a few emails so I can save them all for the Pixar and the Justice League. Everybody is just flooding about Justice League, guys.
Positive or negative?
Positive. I'm really excited about talking about Justice League. So, but yeah, speaking of next week, Black Panther. The week after that, guys, is going to be Justice League Snyder Cut, and then the 29th of March will be our Pixar episode, top 5 plus 5 Pixar episodes, and we'll have reach into my back pocket, but we might have a special guest for the Pixar episode. So, Nathan says just finished Fruitvale Station for the first time, and wow, what a film! I think it should be seen by everyone who loves movies. Do you guys think this is the best Michael B. Jordan movie?
I think that was definitely one of his best performances for sure.
Yeah, I mean everything else he's kind of portraying a quote unquote fictional character, and I think with him kind of portraying how
a real life
person was and how emotionally attached you kind of made it feel by the end of the film, I think is why he did such a good job in that film.
What about you, Ed?
I'd have to say top 2 or top 3 easily. It definitely gives you a lot of good perspectives on it. So yeah, I'd have to say it's definitely really, really way up there for him, and that kind of says something.
Mm-hmm.
Omar says, I really enjoyed Creed 2, but I feel like the first one is better of the two. What would you guys rate 1 and 2 if you could right now? You guys already rated 2. What would you rate 1 if you've seen it?
10. I mean, it is literally one of my favorite movies of all time, so it's a 10.
I'm not going to rate it because it's been a while since I've actually seen it.
I rated it. I think I did the other day, and I did like an 8 or no.
I think
might
you
have
gave it
been
a 9.
Yeah, it was a 9. Yeah, I enjoyed both of those movies. Eric says my top 5 movies based on true events would be Wolf of Wall Street, Argo, A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, Hands of Stone, another boxing movie, and The Irishman. Craig, did you ever get to finish The Irishman?
Man, so I was watching it, and then
Or did the girth, was it too much girth?
wow, the girth was real. I didn't realize it had like another hour or so to it. I thought the film was coming up to a close, and I was
And
like,
it kept going.
I was like, dude, what more do y'all need to tell me at this
It
point?
never ends.
It's too much for me to take.
A little too much girth. Yeah, it's pretty big. Jennifer says, do you guys think it's too far, or it's fair to compare the Creed 2 to Creed 1 or any of the Rocky films? I think we kind of
Very fair.
settled that. Well, no, I was going to say, you guys kind of feel like it's not fair to compare, right?
I don't think there's room to compare because it's its own thing.
Yeah.
It integrates plots from the Rocky films and it integrates characters, but at the same time, it is its own thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can compare, but it's apples to oranges at that point. It's completely different people doing completely different storylines. Yeah, the sport's the same, and some of the characters are continuations or from the same storyline, but
Yeah. I mean, like you said, Johnny, I think Creed 2, you could really compare Rocky 2 through 4. But, I mean, Rocky and Creed, they're basically 2 different movies. Creed is basically rebooting Rocky into a new story. But I think both the first movies in each franchise set out to do what they want. And I think they both succeed.
Sarah97 says, I'm not really into boxing movies, but I did absolutely love Creed 1 and 2. She wants to know whose idea was Creed's 2 episode. I think we all pretty much picked a Michael B. Jordan movie, I think.
Yeah.
I picked Fruitvale Station. You picked... You did
I did.
Creed
I
2,
think I did
right?
Creed 2, yeah.
Black Panther, right?
I don't remember picking it, but sure, I'll take Black Panther.
Well, I mean, it was because you guys talked Creed when you guys first did the episode. I thought let's wrap it up and do 2. So.
Is that your story behind it? You're sticking to it?
Yeah.
Jessica says love Creed 2. I'd give it an 8. Tyler says my favorite movie based on real events is The Untouchables about Al Capone. More gangster flicks. Henry says, I love Creed 2. I would give it a 9. Does anybody feel like there should have been a Force Ghost of Apollo Creed in the movie?
Fucking Force Ghost.
Henry, are you fucking high? No.
Don't get knocked out, bitch.
Hey.
Rocky, throw the fucking towel in if he needs it.
There might have been, there probably could have been.
Rocky probably saw it with all that CTE.
Hey. Hey. Or maybe it should have ended with him just Chris Benoit and everybody.
Fuck.
No.
Just kidding, guys. Half you guys probably don't even know who Chris Benoit is. Look at him.
Or don't.
Yeah, I'm going to save the rest of the emails, guys, for... let me read Coco Crisp. He's got an urgent message to it.
What's up?
Creed 2, not my favorite film in the series, but I'd give it a 7. Yeah, he had exclamation marks next to it.
For not really being a favorite, that's a high rating. I mean, that's pretty
At
cool.
least not my favorite in the series.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, guys, keep sending those emails. Justice League Snyder Cut is coming up next week. And then we are getting ready. Who's excited to talk Marvel? This is going to be our first Marvel movie since Spider-Man Far From Home.
That feels like centuries ago.
Yeah.
Honestly.
How do you guys feel about that? You good?
Yeah.
I don't know if I remember it. No, I'm just kidding.
All right. Does anybody else have anything they want to add into Creed's episode?
No. Creed 2's on Hulu. Go check it out.
No, I agree.
And then all the Rockies are on HBO Max.
Correct.
What about the first Creed? Is that on? That's on Hulu as well, isn't it?
No. That's the only one that's missing.
Oh.
So all the Rockies. They just recently added all the Rockies this weekend on HBO Max, and Creed 2 is on Hulu.
They knew we were doing the episode.
I know, right?
Do you have anything else you need to add, Zach?
No, I'll see you next week for Black Panther.
Ed?
I will see you on the silver screen.
Craig?
Wakanda forever.
All right, guys. Don't forget, next week, Black Panther, right here on the Cine-Men Movie Podcast.